Okay, next up for general category finalists, we have Chad Maxwell, SVP, Integrated Insights from Starcom MediaVest from the US.
Hello there. Is this on? That's excellent. Hi, my name is Chad Maxwell, and I'm with Starcom. It's great to be here. I'm presenting on Influencing the Influencer, a project we did with Beam Suntory. So Beam Suntory is a spirits manufacturer, and the spirits category is growing significantly, but the advertising regulations around spirits are very strict. This means we're incredibly restricted in where and to whom we can actually advertise. And this left large sales opportunities on the table. So our team decided a great strategy to handle those regulations was to actually have a word-of-mouth strategy. So what we did was we had a single goal, which was to increase awareness and drive sales through offline and online word-of-mouth, specifically through TV advertising. To do this, we kind of needed to start with understanding spirits influencers and influence. This was tricky. What we did here was deep dive ethnographies in bars, at home, at parties, at work. Basically, we did a lot of drinking for a whole month. It was great. And then after that, what we needed to do was quantify the key variables within a survey with 1,700 participants to really get at those critical elements. So this allowed us to do two things. One, we were able to tie it all the way back to the strategic target with the critical drivers of influence. And then two, it allowed us to measure the characteristics of people most likely to have the highest propensity to take word-of-mouth actions. And what's great is that we tied this survey through an embedded algorithm back to the US GfK MRI database. So we were able to take our influencer data and connect that to demographics, media choices, psychographics, and as well as behavioral data around spirits consumption and spirits purchase behavior. Then we were able to model that on a respondent level back to that database. So we had a propensity score per influencer. So that's influencer. We needed to do the same thing for media programs. Which media programs were actually the most influential per dollar? So what we did was we took competitive spend from Nielsen ad views. We took social engagement from Nielsen Twitter TV ratings. We also took social listening on the brand conversations from NetBase. And then we got audience reach for the influencers through our in-house optimization program. So suddenly we had this program influence, ability, and power score. Combining those two, we got that maximum reach in terms of earned impressions. So with that, our team was able to calculate program cost by program influencer, by audience size, to create a new social currency optimization metric based on the cost-adjusted audience influencer propensity to have word of mouth. So what happened from there is the team was able to score programs and genres to maximize influence while maintaining efficiencies. So let me give you an example. With the NHL hockey games in the US and NBA basketball games, we actually found that hockey teams were more socially engaged, and it was a cheaper audience. So what we found was per rating point, hockey audiences actually took 3 times the amount of social actions as that of NBA players. And social actions per cost per dollar was actually 4 times for hockey audiences versus that of basketball audiences. This fundamentally changed our media planning and buying strategy. 1, we assigned all the influencer variables to the strategic targets. 2, we integrated that optimization metric into our media buying and planning strategy. And then 3, we shifted a significant number of dollars from advertising programs, from TV programs that actually had that higher propensity. And early on, we wanted to test if it was kind of working. And so we correlated minute-by-minute social listening conversations for the brand by the exact minute-by-minute airings of the Beam Suntory ads. And we found strong and clear correlation. And although not causal, right, it did indicate that perhaps we were getting incremental conversations. The next step was to apply that across the entire portfolio. To do that, we leveraged Starcom's cross-channel attribution approach, which won ICOM in 2014, to measure the interactions between paid, earned, and owned connectedness. And what we found was really great. And although I can't tell you all the numbers due to confidentiality, I can tell you that our TV advertising approach, based on propensity to influence, garnered 3 times the amount of earned media impressions versus that of paid social advertising. This started to affect Beam's bottom line. In fact, we saw some great lift across the board. There was an 82% lift in social conversation for Jim Beam whiskey, which also was a 17% attribution directly to our media campaigns, which led to a 4% year-over-year increase in scales for Jim Beam. We saw a similar story for Maker's Mark. There we had a 15% increase in willingness to recommend to a brand, an 86% increase in brand satisfaction, and finally a 17% lift in sales for Maker's Mark. We loved this approach. We thought it was an integrated and really clever way to bring together primary, syndicated, and social data, so more passive. We also loved it because it finally made influencers and influence practical and tactical versus just likes and volume and sentiment. It moved it all the way through planning. Our new social currency metric allowed us to move further dollars into more TV programming that drive influence, and we're now extending that more and more into digital as well as content creation. And we were able to close the loop with those measurable business results through the paid, earned, and owned modeling I showed you, which also the client was really happy with. As a result of this, Starcom was awarded a US provisional patent, and like I said, we continue to move more and more dollars based on this propensity for social influence model. Really want to thank Beam Suntory. They're a fantastic partner, great collaborators and experimenters, and thanks for listening. Enjoy ICOM.
Thanks, John. Thanks very much. As a Canadian, it validated something I've known for a long time. Hockey watchers, hockey fans are big drinkers. Any questions for Chad? Tanya?
Hi, Chad. Just a vocabulary question. What do you mean by an influencer and by influence?
Sure. I'll go over here to this microphone now. Thank you so much for your question. When I say influencer, I mean people willing to recommend the brand through word-of-mouth actions, either at the bar, make a recommendation online, post a like to the Beam brand, etc. So it's any number of different kind of endorsements for the brand or that spirit's consumption. Well, they do influence others because they make that mention to other people at the bar, etc. So if you think about when you learn about the drink you want to drink, and some of you may have been drinking here, I'm not sure, you may actually say, hey, what are you drinking? Well, it's Jim Beam whiskey, and that moment of drink relatedness you connect on, and that's that moment of influence.
Is this approach applicable to other segments, so influence the content creators?
We see it going to influence content creation more and more in the fact that we have those variables and kind of the mechanics of influence, and so we'll be able to trigger and leverage those through the creative use. And then through our fusion approach, we'll extend that even more into the digital properties, where we'll be able to populate that content for more of a content at scale approach.
Brilliant. Okay, well, join me please in thanking Chad once again. Thanks very much.